What's going on, guys? Tower number 9 here, and today I want to talk about a card that has been pretty prominent in the early days of Twilight of the Republic here, the Elite P-38 Starfighter. Let's get into it. So Jango Fett did pretty well at two recent tournaments. So there was the SCGCon Columbus event, and they had a 1K cash prize pool event on Friday and a 2K cash prize pool event on Saturday. On Friday, Django Tarkentown made two top eights, and they did end up prize splitting at that time, so it wasn't played all the way out. At the 2K event on Saturday, Django made three of the top eight. All three of those players made top four, and the final ended up being Django versus Django. So Django was a pretty scary new deck. These Django Tarkentown builds kind of inheriting the mantle there of the old Boba Red Tarkentown builds. And this card here, the Elite P-38 Starfighter, has been key to the Django deck's success, so I want to take a little time to go over it in particular and talk about some of its advantages which people may not have realized. So first up, this is a 3-cost Cunning Villainy Space Unit. It's a 3/2. When played and when defeated, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. And so this ability turns out to be really useful because you can use it in a wide range of situations and it can get a lot of value. So if you have Jango Fett as your leader, Jango can exhaust opposing units when they're damaged by one of your units, and it doesn't have to be combat damage. So Jango's ability can be used along with the Elite P-38 Starfighter's ability to get opposing units exhausted. It can be used to just remove units that are 1 HP, either naturally or they have 1 HP left after taking some damage. It synergizes well with Triple Dark Raid because you can use that to, even if you don't have a card that can immediately damage something, if you play Triple Dark Raid and you get this or a Ruthless Raider, you can then get that when played ping and exhaust something. And if you have Django deployed, you can potentially actually exhaust as many as 3 units in one play. Now that would require the ability to ambush this, which the Django Red decks generally aren't running, but in principle, if you were to play the Elite P-38 Starfighter with something giving an ambush, whether that be, Energy Conversion Lab or Heroic Intervention, anything like that, you could then have it come into play, deal 1 damage to 1 unit when played, exhaust that, ambush in and attack 1 unit and exhaust that, and then if you die in the ambush, you can use the when defeated to deal 1 damage to a 3rd unit and exhaust that one too, as long as you have Django as a leader unit on the field, and that could be pretty huge. Now that's not necessarily going to be that easy. Like I was saying, the Django Red decks aren't going to be running ambush tech most of the time, but getting 2 cards exhausted with 1 action is actually much more common, very achievable for these decks. So if you have your Elite P-38 already in play, you attack into a unit, and if that unit defeats you, you get the when defeated to damage and potentially exhaust another unit, and you can potentially use Django's ability to exhaust the unit that you attacked into as well if it survived that combat. The ping can also be used to clear shields off of opposing units. It works well with Tarkentown. Ping a unit, damage it, you can exhaust it. Later you can use Tarkentown to finish it off. Just really effective. One note that I want to give though is that if you do use this ping ability to remove a shield, Django's ability does not work on it at that point because it hasn't actually taken damage. The damage was prevented by the shield. So that's some discussion of this card and its potential for Jango Fett, but it's not just a card for Django decks. There's other builds that can get significant value out of it as well. Cards like 7th Fleet Defender and Lurking TIE Phantom were already seeing a good deal of play, and the Elite P-38 Starfighter is another option in those sort of similar slots. I would say that it's a bit more removal oriented, it's less protected, so the 7th Fleet Defender and Lurking TIE Phantom both have rules that help protect them from incoming stuff. The Elite P-38 doesn't have that, but it deals some more damage, both with that ping when it's played and then once it's cleared. Having 3 power plus the when defeated means that you actually get to trade with 4 HP ships, which can be very important. So for example, if your opponent plays the Millennium Falcon and attacks into you, that would clear a Lurking TIE Phantom and their Falcon would stay alive. With the Elite P-38, you deal 3 damage from power, and you can choose to use your when defeated to do the other 1 damage to the Falcon and finish it off. Similarly, Elite P-38 Starfighter can attack into Conquered Dawn Interceptors. It will die from combat. You can do the when defeated, 3+1, 4, take out the interceptors. So that's pretty useful. Now, I think the Lurking TIE Phantom in the past has been pretty strong. Currently, there are a lot of people playing cards in space, which I think makes that card somewhat weaker. And the Elite P-38 is more appealing to me, at least in a lot of decks. But I don't think the Lurking TIE Phantom is an unplayable card by any means. It is also worth noting that the Elite P-38 Starfighter does not have the Imperial trait. It has the Separatist trait. In general, I think the Imperial trait is probably a little better than the Separatist trait. You know, you won't see plays like TIE Phantom off of triple Dark Raid to buff the Elite P-38, but that does work with the 7th Fleet Defender and Lurking TIE Phantom. However, there might be some cool Separatist stuff you can do with it at some point. And overall, I think the Elite P-38 Starfighter is a strong card for a range of builds. It's a key card for the Django Red stuff that we've been seeing recently, and I think it's one that a lot of players should be considering in other Cunning Villainy decks as well. Now, I just want to give a note, it's not unbeatable, because these are the results from SCGCon Columbus's Sunday 1K prize pool event. This is the top 8, and you know, if you take a look at these decks, you'll note that Django was not present. The winner was actually in the top left there, Sabine Wren Energy Conversion Lab, and I was told that after the first two days where Django had been doing very well, there was a pivot towards more control builds, and Sabine ended up being able to get the win against control decks that she tends to be strong against. I don't know for sure if that's exactly what happened. I wasn't there, but it is worth noting that the deck that did very well on Friday and Saturday didn't end up making the top cut on Sunday. So Django Tarkentown is not an unbeatable build, even with this cool P-38 Interceptor. It's a good card, but it's not an invincible card. Yeah, and then one other note that I want to give is that if you want to see people actually playing with the Elite P-38, you can go to the MClunky Gaming channel. Last weekend, I was involved in casting the SCGCon Columbus 2K event. MClunky Gaming set up a stream over there. I was co-casting. I was joined by Endless and later by Dark. And we saw some Elite P-38 plays on stream there. We had several games where the card was relevant. I think we saw it both in Django decks and in non-Django decks. So if you want to get a better sense of what this looks like in practice, you can check out those games. I'll have a link to the MClunky Gaming channel in the video description below. And big shout out to Claire and Titanic from MClunky Gaming for making that stream happen with their production and so on. I would advise that you go and subscribe because they have some cool stuff going on for sure. Yeah. And we are hopefully going to have some more tournament coverage with MClunky Gaming, with me doing commentary and so on in the upcoming PQ season. And we'll have to see, we'll have to see what the exact schedule ends up looking like. But I am excited to potentially bring that to y'all. All right. That is going to about do it for this one, guys. What do you think of the Elite P-38 Starfighter? Has that been a card that has been really relevant for you? Has it been one that you feel like you found an answer to that can really clear it out? I'd be curious to hear how it's been going. I think we're in a really interesting time in the meta right now, where the boba ban plus the release of all the new cards in Twilight of the Republic has us in kind of a wide open meta. I actually just wrote an article about that over at the 5th Trooper. I'll have a link to that in the video description below as well if you want to check that out and get some of my thoughts on the meta and like different sorts of things you can do to try and build a new deck. But yeah, I think it's a very exciting time to be playing Star Wars Unlimited, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. Catch you guys later.